This is Elsa coming from Bemis Crafty Corner, and today I have a neat little project for us, just a cute little one. See, just cute. We're going to be making our own ephemera out of vellum, and we're going to be using our heat tool and some embossing powders and things. So we're going to be making some of these cute little embellishments here that we can use on other things. And I'm going to get the list of stuff out, and we'll go through all of the things that you're going to need, supplies you're going to need for this project. So I'm going to get all of that out. I'll be right back, and we'll get started on making some of these. Okay, tools for this one. Obviously, some stamps. Now here's a word about stamps. Do you see how busy this is up here and here? This stamp is going to be too busy to be able to get into all of these little places. So this is probably not a good stamp for this technique. What you are looking for are stamps that are like these, that have some larger areas that you can color and that aren't too huge. So you want very simple stamps for this, okay? Butterflies work really well. Flowers work really well. So stick to those kinds of stamps. If you're using acrylic stamps and a block, then you're probably going to want some kind of foam. Even if you're using your stamp platform, you're again going to want some foam underneath it to help cushion it a little bit. So we're going to want those tools. Obviously, you're going to want some embossing powder, versamark. If you do not have these, don't run out and buy a versamark and black embossing powder, because then all you can do is emboss in black. If you don't have these and you would like to emboss in every color of the rainbow, then let me recommend that you get clear embossing powder and just use your regular inks. I have a video on how to do that, and I will put it in the description below. You're going to want a little bit of a paintbrush to just kind of brush away any stray embossing powder that you don't like. Some scissors to cut your image out, obviously. And then you're going to want water-based markers. So these are the Marvies. Marvies are water-based. You can use your Chamels. Those are water-based. If you have the Sta markers, the metallics, they are water-based as well. Those can be used. You can use just plain old, ordinary, stolen from the kids Crayolas. You can also use watercolors on this, and if you don't have any of those items and you still want to do this, get out your inks, because you can take your ink and you can put a little bit of the ink in the cap by like squeezing it, or like those disturbing pieces that are floating around, a little bit of water on a brush. Most of your water-based inks can be used as a watercolor. So we'll do that in another video so you guys can see that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up to get the first part of this started. We are going to be stamping on vellum. So get your vellum out and cut it down to a manageable size. You don't need to do a whole sheet. I like to cut them in half and just do a half size sheet. So I'm going to go ahead and get this one set up and ready to go and be ready to start stamping. And then I will show you how to move forward with the embossing and how to color this in. Okay? I'll be right back. So I have selected a few stamps, and I have them relaxing on the board here, because when you pull them off, they sometimes get distorted. So I'm just going to let them relax on the board for a second, and then I'm going to pick them up with my block, and I'm going to go ahead and get my versamark open here. And I'm going to put some versamark on here. Now this stuff's pretty sticky and it lasts for a little while, so you don't have to feel like you have to rush to do this. Okay, and I'm going to stamp this directly onto the vellum, and I'm going to put some even pressure on it. I'm going to kind of move my hand. I'm not rocking the stamp, I'm just moving my hand so that I kind of make sure that I get every bit of that down. Okay, and I know that you can see that in the reflection. And then I'm going to take my stamp and I'm going to put it to the side. It's going to have to get cleaned because it's versamark. And then I'm going to go ahead and add some ink to this one, and I'm going to go ahead and stamp her on here. Again, I'm just going to put her down. I'm not going to wiggle her or anything. I'm just going to put even, nice, firm, flat pressure and hold it for just a few seconds so that, you know, the ink gets a chance to really adhere to the paper. And then, and I'm going to stamp her twice, just because, you know, I'm doing this. I might as well do it and get a couple of these out. So I'm going to stamp her again, right here. There we go. Again, I'm just pressing down. I'm not wiggling the stamp in any way or distorting the lines. Fantastic. And then I got a couple of little flowers here, and I want to do some of those as well. So I'm just going to put these on my block, and I'm going to ink them, and I'm going to stamp them. And I'm going to ink them again, and I'm going to stamp them again. Okay, so now I have these all on here. So I'm going to close this up, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to just basically bring my bowl over here. I'm going to open up my embossing powder, and I'm just going to cover everything with some embossing powder. And I'm going to look and see if I missed anything. If I did, I'm just going to put a little more on there. And then I'm going to use my brush to just take off any excess embossing powder that I have there. Okay, so now that I have that all done, I am going to get rid of this, and I'll just put it back in the container later. And I'm going to take my heat gun, I'm going to heat it up. I want it to be warm before I start. Now, vellum is very, very delicate, so I don't want to put any more heat on this than I have to, but I want to make sure that I completely emboss these images. And once I have these embossed, I'm going to let the whole thing cool down, okay? Because the paper is going to warps just a little bit because this is vellum, and it just has some peculiar characteristics, so it's going to just a little bit, it'll get a little wavy on me, and I don't really want it wavy, but so I'm going to let it cool for just a few moments, and as soon as this is cool, I'll come back and we'll get started on the next part. So now I have my images, they've been embossed, and I have my water-based markers. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of get started here, and I'm just going to color things in the way that I want. And I think this one I'm going to give her a little light bluish green colored skirt. Now, if you use your alcohol markers, you will really want to use the fine tip, because if you touch your embossing with the alcohol, it's going to pull it off. And we don't want to remove the embossing, and we don't want to mix that in to the color. So we want to be really careful, okay? Let me see. Let me use this one. And we'll do her little headband. And we'll use the other side. And let's do her little flower up here. I think her hair should be brown. So we're going to give her some brown hair. Now the embossing will help to keep the colors in line so that they don't go anywhere. And I think her little wings should be kind of a light purple color, so we'll do her little wings. We're just going to kind of color her in. I'm going to do her other wing, kind of a different color. And then we're going to paint her. Let me grab a flesh tone here. So we're going to color in her little foot, and then her little ankle and her little leg. And we're going to get her back, and her little tummy. And the rest of her up here, her little ear. Let's not forget her ear. And then her hands. And her little face. So I'm going to color her out. Now, once I have her colored out, I'm going to want to seal her. Okay, and I'm not going to color all of these right now, so obviously I'm not going to do the sealing on this one. I have another image right here that I've already colored, and this one is ready to be sealed. So you can use any sealer that you want. You can use your triple thick, whatever it is you choose. I am going to be using Starlight Varnish. Now here's the thing, I'm going to be really careful with this on the brush because these are watercolored inks, water-based inks, and they'll move. So I'm not going to paint so much as I'm just going to kind of tap this on, and then I'm going to move from one color to the next, being careful not to go outside the lines. And you don't have to seal this if you don't want to, okay? I just want to put some sealer right here on her skirt. That's really all I want to seal. I'm not worried about the rest of it. I just want her to have a little bit of blingy dang like on her skirt and her little wings, okay? So then I'm going to wipe the color off of my brush because I'm transferring from one color to the next. I'm just going to put a little bit of glitter on her wings. And this actually helps to move the marker around a little bit. And it gives you a little bit better of a color coverage, sort of like, almost like stained glass. Okay, you kind of get that look from it. So I'm going to let this dry, and as soon as this dries, I'm going to be back and we'll move on to the next part. So these have all been stamped, and they've all been colored. Well, some of them have been colored, and I'm going to go ahead and cut this one. And what you're going to do now is just basically fussy cut these out. Just stay on the outside of the black line and fussy cut them out. And once you have them all cut out, then the next step is going to be to, kind of set them up where you want them. For me, I want to be able to glue them down. And so an easy way for me to be able to store them is simply for me to use my Xyron. And so what I have out here is my 3-inch. And it's just really good for these little images. So I'm going to get her cut out. And once I have her all cut out, and I have that little fairy house all cut out, then I will go ahead and put them through my Xyron and basically make them into stickers, so that I can use them on a project. And I actually have a project in mind for these. So I'm working on a journal for a friend of mine, and I'm going to be using these on her journal. Alright, so here are my little pieces. This is the little fairy house that I did. And of course the little fairy that we did and we glittered. And I just have her on a little policy envelope here. And what I did is ran them through my Xyron and made stickers out of them. And so let's take this one. We'll just peel this up. Get rid of that real quick. We'll peel this up. And we'll go ahead and take this one off of here. And this is the permanent adhesive. We'll just fix that down on there. Now here's a tip. Excuse me. If you're using a Xyron, whenever you put something down, just use the little sticky part if there's any residual sticky on there, and that'll pull it back up like attracts like. So we have that. I'm probably going to put a couple little flowers on here as well, and we're going to go ahead and wrap the thread back onto the policy envelope here. I took it off so that I could get underneath here, because I wanted her arm kind of planted under there. And all I'm going to do is wrap that around a couple of times. And it just makes it stay. And then I'm just going to be putting some like journaling cards in here, some pictures of her and I when we were kids. And this is going to go in the back of her journal. So I just wanted to dress it up a little bit, and that's it. That is my simple little project. If you have any questions at all, do not hesitate to reach out. If you need to reach me, of course, all of my contact information will be in the description below, as well as a project supply list and a video link to the stamp and embossing video. So if you're new here, this is your first time, go ahead and do me a favor and hit that red button for me, subscribe, like me, ring my bell, and share me with all your friends. And then your friends can be my friends, and my friends can be your friends, and our friends can get to be friends. And before you know it, we have a giant crafting community. Until I see you next time, bye-bye, stay safe.